Hi, everyone, and welcome once again to What's the Damage, companion show to the incredibly well-known and popular and award-winning, can I say that? It's fair use, I can say that, real play D&D show, Roll for Damage. The fight for racial justice in the real life continues, and COVID cases are spiking all over the United States, so stay safe, wear a mask, stay determined, and make sure to stick around until the end of the stream for our useful links for bail funds, information, other ways you can help. Anyway, back to D&D. Last week, our heroes had a relatively quiet time wandering around the city. They read some books, they had some more visions, they caught the scent of a few plot hooks, and to cap it all off, Dobby may have finally found his black market. It's a pity there's a monster at the gate, but they didn't get to fight yet. They ended right there. So cliffhanger. We'll be talking about all that and also doing a deep dive on D&D races today, from elves to orcs to weirder, more obscure races too. All of that coming up right now. I'm your host, Truth Venson, and this is What's the Damage? Welcome back. With me today are two very special guests. We've got Laura, who plays the wonderful Peregrine, and we've got Caleel, who plays the equally wonderful Baltaim. So, guys, what's the damage? You're about to fight a monster. You're not quite there yet. You
Thanks,
excited?
Dobby. Thanks, Dobby.
Yeah. Thanks, Dobby. That's
Yeah, Dobby's not here today,
statement.
so we can't yell at him in person.
No, but he can feel our anger.
He can
from a
feel,
distance.
yeah. Jay feels like a tingle on the back of his neck, like, oh, somebody's talking about me.
I'm not worried, I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily believe that necessarily, but I'm gonna say it just to have that energy out there.
I feel fairly confident that we'll be okay. I feel like it'd be a lot easier if some very dumb halfling hadn't slept in an alley for no reason and lost his magic sword. But I think, I've still got all of my spells and all of my wild shapes. And as long as Barry can exist, we're pretty good. So
yeah, that's true. Barry's kind of dangerous.
Barry's always a treat.
Yeah,
how's Barry gonna? Oh, sorry.
Oh no, I said I feel good. I have my spells too, so
yeah. I think you guys are pretty well prepared. How's Barry gonna do in a basement? Do you think it's a bit of a small space you're in?
We'll see. I mean, there's gonna be some stuff knocked over.
Yep.
But considering Perry hasn't seen enough stuff yet to get really good wild shapes ready yet, Barry's a pretty good go-to.
Yeah. I'm kind of hoping she'll adopt like camel for the environment, so you guys can just like go across the dunes. That'd be fun. It'll be very Lawrence of Arabia.
Well, we have some time in town. I'm gonna look for animals. That's always on Perry's to-do list. What animals can I find and sketch and learn to become?
To-do list: go to the zoo.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you guys, did have a pretty like walkie aroundy, talky kind of episode, but there was some interesting stuff that you guys learned and a couple of plot hooks that you saw that will definitely come back later, I assume. So first off, Baltaim, I feel like you right now are seeing a lot of like parallels between what's happening with you and what's happening with Quinn. You've both got sisters in the mix. You've both got, I think, shadowy organizations playing with your family. So the first question really is, does your character feel like a weird sense of kinship with Quinn now that you've gotten to know him better and you know that you have this in common?
I think yes. Short answer, yes. I think since they've met, I think Baltaim has really got connected to, strangely enough, Dobby and Quinn. I think he feels a kinship to these two people. Basically, their personalities are, even though Quinn and Dobby hate each other, they're very similar. In fact, as characters, they are very straightforward. They're very impulsive. They just maneuver in different ways. And I think Baltaim relates to that. That like that aura, like that energy. They both have this kind of, all three of them kind of have that kind of straightforward, like I'm gonna tell you what I want, and if I don't, like, if that's not what I want, then I'm trying to go do what I need to get done. So I think, yes, I think he does feel very connected to Quinn, and he sees the like, either by chance or by fate, they are very connected and have very similar roles in the universe.
Interesting. Is Baltaim like a big believer in fate?
He is. He sees it more as like the fate is essentially what you do with the choices you have in life. You clearly don't know your fate, but everything is up to you to choose what to do. That is what your fate will be. Only the gods will know the higher of what your actual like sprawled out fate is. But he is just in that moment of, I will make this choice, and if it went right, that was fate. If it went wrong, it was fate as well. That's where if I get to where I need to go, that's what the gods had planned for me to do to make it to where I am now.
Mm-hmm. It's a very kind of Zen way of looking at it, while still being like within the kind of D&D range of religions. It's funny too that you say that you feel closest to like Quinn and Dobby personality wise, because I see you guys as kind of like on the same line, but on different points of the number line. Mm-hmm. Like on the line of straightforward, you've got Dobby, who's obviously very aggressive and impulsive. You've got Quinn, who's kind of in the middle. Then you've got Baltaim, who's very laid back, but he has kind of like a solidness to his personality. Like he's not loud or overspoken the way Dobby or sometimes Quinn is, but he's very much, I'm going to go this way and I'm going to walk all over you if you're in the way. Yeah, that's Baltaim. Cool guy. Let's see. So we've started getting little hits to go on with Ball. We've started getting little hints of his backstory starting to be woven into the plot. So without getting too far into like backstory spoilers, can you tell us a bit more about what this journey means for Baltaim and what it feels like for him to finally be seeing progress after I don't know, like a month and a half of traveling with these people?
I think the interesting thing about Baltaim is that he himself, even though he might have that air of like he is prepared, or he has, he's solid, I think even he doesn't understand what this all means in the grand scheme of things. I think honestly, I believe that he thinks he shouldn't even necessarily be the one taking this journey. I think he thinks he's stumbled into something, stumbled into greatness essentially, and I think he's taking it one foot at a time, trying to not necessarily trying to be a hero, but just trying to do what he can to his part of what he has to play into this bigger picture.
Okay, so he's not overly like jumping at the bit to get at his particular plot. He's willing to let it just happen.
I think he thinks as long as he doesn't actively ignore or disavow something that comes to him, like if he just kind of, ignored the information that he's going to get that he had got from the last session. I think as long as he's keeping an eye out and is aware of what's going on, I think he thinks it will come to him, or he will, he'll naturally gravitate towards where he's going. He's not necessarily um, as impulsive as let's say Dobby. He wants to do that what he thinks will accomplish his goal with his sister, but he's been told that there is a deal, and if you complete your deal, there's it takes patience to get to where you want to go, and you do this for me, I will do this for you, essentially.
He's more the slow and steady kind then?
Kind of. I think he's more willing to be honorable enough to agree to give up parts of his life to do things for someone else.
Very noble. Okay, Perry. So I wanted to ask you this question last episode, but you were not on. Were you on last episode? There was one episode where you had to call off, then we replaced you with Jake, and I had to redo a bunch of the questions last minute because we replaced you with Jake.
Yeah, that was last week.
Okay, that was last week. The weeks are so weird this time. Anyway,
time doesn't
exist. Time is fake, you guys. I'm sorry to say. So, so the week before last, you guys spoke to Lux Eterna, and they sent you on this little mission, and it turned out you were actually acquainted with one of them previously. Can you tell us about the slimes?
Okay, so Perry arrived. She had just left her home and arrived in Agraria, and because Perry is Perry and had no idea where to go, she asked someone where she could find people who knew things, and wound up at the Explorers Guild, where she met Fulton. And back off, he's my NPC crush. I love Fulton. He's so funny. And she was asking questions, and Fulton came wandering in and asked her to help him carry a box. The next thing she knows, he's opening said box in the back room, and some strange slimes are coming out. And that was really her first encounter with anything that wasn't natural. She'd hunted with her mother. She'd, been used to climbing trees and dealing with real animals. But for the first time ever, she was faced with something that didn't belong. And they were just some sort of weird slime creature that she immediately drew in her journal to save for later. And Fulton wound up saving her life. So,
now they're besties.
Yes.
Cool. So what was it like? So did Perry spend any more time with Fulton, or did they just part ways right after the slime?
They immediately parted ways. It was a sort of, oh, I have to go. Here's some information. Go to Dash. Find this guy. I gotta go. And Fulton was out, and no one wanted to talk about what happened. Nobody at the front desk wanted to know about what had happened. So she had no idea who she'd just met. Or what was going on, only that the world is a weird place, and big cities are bizarre.
That's true. So what was it like for her to meet out of the blue once again this guy who was, I think, probably one of the first people you connected with, or had an important, really if brief relationship with after she left her enclave, and to realize that, hey, he's pretty important.
I think for Perry, it was thrilling and exciting, and well, she's met these people and they're kind of her friends. It was a familiar face where she hasn't seen a familiar face in now a month and a half or more. And for her, it was super exciting because it was somebody who knew her, knew what she was looking for, and recognized her.
And happy to see her.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Perry. She's not in Kansas anymore.
Yeah. The big wild world is awfully scary for poor Perry.
Yeah. So it's been over the past couple of episodes, it's been my impression that within the group, Perry is stepping into sort of not exactly a managerial role, but kind of the organizational role. She seems to often be the person who says, okay, we need to plan our steps going from here to here. We need to make sure we have the right supplies. We need to make sure we're doing everything not by the book, but by some kind of logical order. So is this the kind of role that she naturally steps into? Has she done this before or?
I think it's more she's sort of channeling her parents.
Mhm.
Her mother leads the hunters of the tribe, and her father is sort of kind of well known and an orderly, neat, tidy kind of guy. And so, like, everything has its place, and she knows that there's a right way to do things, and she gets overwhelmed pretty easily. So, especially with all of this stuff lately going on where Dobby has gone crazy, um, or gone full Dobby, um,
Never go
Perry
for
just feels like something has to, we have to do something, we have to do this. Like, she feels like a need to just make things make a little bit of sense. And this is the only way she knows how. Because at this point, it's either that or I'm going to turn into a cat and to go find somewhere to hide. Um,
So she is imposing order because she wants a sense of control over her life.
a little bit, especially since what she saw at
Mhm.
Avonhurst. Um, she's not used to everything being haywire. She's used to being able to go off and do her own thing, but when she got back to the village, everything was still going to be okay. Now, every time she blinks, something crazy is happening.
Yeah, it's the way of things.
Uh,
Um, hmm?
I just want to say I think that's interesting because I feel personally, just kind of sitting and watching it, I think we all kind of have that same energy of we're all kind of like I'm not used to like necessarily being like a leader-ish role. I'm like, Perry, does her own thing usually, or she's not, not at Dobby level of like I'm just gonna do this without telling anyone. And she'll be like, I'm gonna do this, but like she seems like a more like in the flow, like I'm just trying to do things to make sure I can get what I want to get done. And like Quinn is kind of like that. Baltane's kind of like that. Uh, Cynric's like that. Um, I think Dobby's definitely like that.
Tommy's very like that.
Yeah.
I think Baltane's not sure where the gauge on Oriana yet. He can see where she can either be either or. But it kind of seems like mostly everyone's got that same. We're kind of going with the flow. It's kind of interesting seeing Perry go into that role of like, oh, let's make sure we're not like alone, guys. Let's not go soft
Yeah.
by ourselves.
Yeah, I feel like what's happened is it's every time we've gotten split up, Perry has realized how bad that goes
Right.
because they can't reach each other. Um, so while she's used to, well, we can all do this and we can all work together and go with the flow, she's realizing sometimes that doesn't work
Right.
because when we all go and do our own thing, we get separated and then bad things happen. And there's a realization of how bad being marked by this dark god is for her. Like, she's got enough baggage back home with all of those sick people. She feels like at some point we have to take this seriously, which
Right.
is a weird feeling for her because she takes nothing seriously. She sort of feels like things will be the way they'll be. That's the natural order of things. But now it's like, well, if I just let Dobby run off and I let us all go 5 different ways, we're going to wake up in the morning and something bad is going to have happened to one of us. And we need each other.
Yeah.
And she's recognized that we need each other.
Character development.
Yeah, just interesting to see that character development. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so sort of jumping off of that, as I think both of you were saying, you all appear to be characters who are not loners exactly, but sort of accustomed to having individual goals which you are individually working towards. You're not used to group projects, but you have all been forced sort of into a group by all being marked by the same God and all like, given this little thing of, oh, now you have to stop the apocalypse, all of you. you guys, y'all. But you guys barely know each other is the thing. You've only been traveling for a bit over a month. So how do you feel like the group is coming together? Like what are the interesting dynamics that are starting to happen? How are you starting to mesh as not just a group of people, but as an adventuring party?
Well, I think I think I think mostly Baltimore gets along with pretty much everyone. I think the wonder combo for some reason is Baltimore and Dobby. It's just something.
Sometimes.
Yeah, it's something. But it's I think it's getting somewhere. I think Dobby is taking a step towards um leaning a little bit less from the Dobby, like full on Dobby. I think Baltimore and Cindric's just opposite, like chiller personalities are rubbing off a little bit better on him. I
We're
think
trying to get him to like semi Dobby.
yeah, like half Dobby.
Half Dobby.
Yeah, get half Dobby. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, half
And I
Dobby
think
instead of
him
full
and
Dobby.
Perry are pretty like they have no issues. They're like, yeah, I mean, like that's what you want to do. Like, it's cool. Like, what do you think? Like, okay, that's cool. I think him and Perry are. I don't think they have any issues really. They're pretty cool
Yeah,
for the
I
most
mean, I
part.
think Perry gets along with just about everybody,
Yeah.
because she comes from a community where everybody works together. It's this great little hippie commune, and we all work together, and it's fine. So it really throws her for a loop when someone is very, very selfish, the way that Dobby behaves. But everybody else, she's just like, okay, well, we all have our own goals, but we can work together. Um, I mean, she hasn't really found like, somebody who she like super meshes with, but I don't think she has any problems with anybody. And even Dobby, she understands that he's got his own damage, but the way that she looks at the world is like, well, if we all work together, if we all do what needs to be done, we all come out ahead. But every time she turns around, Dobby's running off or yelling at her for a
Or
suggestion
asking someone where there's dynamite and
or
getting people mad.
looking for drugs.
Fun shit. Yeah, you guys are slowly starting to get to know each other. And we'll see what happens once you break through all of your little hard outer shells to get the little coconutty goodness inside. I'm not sure why I decided you guys are coconuts, but
That were
that's
coconuts.
canon now.
That's
Nobody can
fine.
stop me.
The Twilight coconuts.
Twilight
Yeah.
coconuts.
Okay, so sort of another group question, but as we've seen, the threads of fate are kind of tightening around all of you. So how do Perry and Baltaim like individually feel just about where they're going in their quests that they've been given, either personal quests or this huge overarching quest? Do they feel like they're making enough progress? Do they feel nervous about all the sudden responsibility? How are they coping mentally? How are they coping?
I mean, Perry is terrified because she feels like she's not doing enough and she's not moving fast enough because she's well aware of how bad things are back home. But she also is aware that people don't know who her people are. Everywhere she goes, somebody's like, well, I don't know who you're talking about. I've never heard of them. Fulton's really the first person she's talked to who knew who they were by name. And she's still kind of mad at him for he told her, I've heard of them, but I don't know anything about them. When they first met, and then he's like, oh yeah, no, it's with the desert ocean. And so Perry's really afraid that she's always afraid that she's already too late. So she feels like she's not making enough progress, but she's also got this sort of weight to, well, now not only do I have that back home, which I swore I'd take care of, but also now I'm marked and now there's this going on. And now I'm going to meet people I've been looking for months. So for her, it's a little overwhelming, but also really exciting because this is the first time in who knows how long, as far as she's aware, that her tribe has had any contact with another tribe or had the potential for any contact with another tribe.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think Baltaim. I think he thinks he's on the right track. I think he's content of what's going on so far. I think I think him doing what he's doing is going to get, or I think he thinks doing what he's doing is going to get to where he wants to be at. I think. I can put a
I
couple more
get
things.
you.
That's a
I
very
get you. I
ballsy
get where you're
answer,
going.
to be honest. That's a
It
very
is.
ballsy answer.
He's in the flow. I think he thinks this is gonna go well. Might
He's
not,
like,
but
yeah, this is, we're going.
yeah.
Okay, so that kind of brought me a little bit into my next question, which was for Baltaim. So first off, I'd like to officially give Baltaim line of the game with "Is this book broken?" Congratulations. So it's obvious that Baltaim's not really a scholar, but a lot of the stuff that's happening is quite cerebral and thinky and weird and obscure. How does he feel about like the lack of straightforward answers, like go this, go here, and fix this thing?
He's like, okay, Oriana, Perry, like what did they just say? I don't
Whatever they said.
like they like I think he thinks about things. He might necessarily get it off the bat, but I think he understands Oriana's very smart. Perry is very smart. Even Cineric is very wise. He's maybe not smart, just like book learned, but he's very like he has been around the block, so he has knowledge to give. And he just, well, I think Baltimore just listens to what they have to say, and if that personally doesn't like resonate with him, like in his core, he's like, no, I don't feel like that resonates with me. And I think he's more of a gut like learner. I guess like he follows his gut. If there's something, someone says something to him, he's like, that doesn't sound like up and up. I don't think that's right.
Suspicious.
Yeah, he's like, no, I don't think that's not sitting with me right. I think he is more inclined to follow that, but I think he understands like I'm not the smartest person in a 10-mile radius at all. So if someone smarter than me says, oh yeah, this is something we should like think about or like do or listen to, he's like, okay, I'm gonna let them think that out because they are clearly thought longer or thought about this a little bit more than he has. So he's like, yeah, I'm gonna kind of pay attention to what they have to say, and then kind of react on what they repeat to him or what he feels necessarily.
That's cool. So he trusts his party members essentially to do more of the heavy brain lifting, and he will just, he's better at fighting stuff.
Yeah, he will slash something for sword.
Yeah.
Or, Eldritch Blast open a door when we're trying to sneak in.
Yeah.
The door needs to be open. It was open.
We don't have a lockpick. I just had the spell right there.
True.
Just like
there you go. Just
well,
like
good news.
stealthily
We
Eldritch
still don't have
blasted.
any more lockpicks because Dobby lost his.
Yeah, so
more Eldritch Blast the door open for you, Baltaim.
Yeah, more Eldritch blasting doors.
I mean, maybe if you like defeat this fence and his monster, there'll be some lockpicks around. Maybe.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe some dynamite even. Who knows? Time will tell.
Drugs. We need drugs. And acid. We need acid.
Acid, dynamite, drugs.
Someone's going to actually have all these things that Dobby can buy. You guys realize this, right?
I mean, yeah, it's perfectly within possibility that Dobby is just going to one day walk into a store and it's going to be the acid bomb lockpick store.
He's just like, okay, this is perfect.
I will buy your entire stock. Thank you.
Yeah, and on that note, we're going to move on to our topic for the day, which is fantasy races. So obviously, like D&D has like a huge selection of different races, which characters can play, from like your standard elf to I don't know, like enlightened animals, lithids, like it goes the entire gamut, like so many options. And we're going to talk about a lot of them today because it's a fun topic. So first off, just a general question. Both of you, like, do you have a race you tend to default to when making a new character?
Default, like if I'm just like, hey, play something, and someone didn't like, someone told me that day, half elf, I guess.
Yeah, I tend to go classic half elf or tiefling. I play a lot of tieflings lately. I like to play my little devil girls. They're lots of fun.
Yeah, little hornies. I love tieflings. Let's see. So when you play a character, when you design a character, do you tend to like take the racial lore into consideration when you're creating your character, or do you just kind of play them like they could be a human, like they could be anyone else? Because that's kind of like the two options that you can have. You can either like go really deep, be like okay, this is a full elf. They have that's very important to them. They like worship Coralon. They have a lot of like elven beliefs. They're from this specific wood in this specific part and they speak this specific dialect, or you can just play them as a little bit like more distant from their culture.
I guess it depends. Like it depends on like so that's I mean, let's say what class I play. Like if I'm an elf, if I play like a wizard, they might be more city or anyway, so they might be more human-ish in that like realm
Yeah.
because like they're around a bunch of city and people with magic and learn how to do magic. But if they're like maybe like a fighter, they that might lean more into like, oh, they are a classical elf, like they might have a tribe or they might have a clan that they necessarily are a part of, and that might fit that lore of that class better. It kind of depends. But I think generic, like mostly, basically, I think I usually try to have some of the lore of the race in there somewhere. Because if I just was, I rather, I mean, if I was gonna do like human-ish, I would just play human. But I mean, humans are kind of boring. So I'm like, I'm already human. I don't really want to.
Humans are basic.
Already human.
I
Been
think
human, done that.
yeah. I think it depends for me on the game and like whether or not my character would fit into like the culture. Depending on like if I play a half drow, because I like my half drows. I kind of look at where they're from, and like what's the lore of that world. Like are do people distrust them? Are they from an area where they would be super into whatever that religion is they're into, or that sort of thing? I kind of base mine on world lore more than like traditional lore, because I'm a big fan of play your elf or play your tiefling. um play your drow. They don't have to be what everybody assumes. And I kind of base it a lot on backstory. Like, okay, well, this tiefling was born and raised in a temple, so she's really, she's not in touch with her infernal roots at all. Or this elf lived in her village of elves, and everybody was an elf, and they're kind of like elf racist. Then yeah, I'll play into that because that's who she is and that's where she's from.
So it's more whether or not it fits in the backstory rather than you fitting the backstory to it.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. It's interesting that you both said you default to half elf because I think half elf is the most boring race.
Ooh.
Both of you changed my mind. That's your challenge.
Okay,
No,
well,
I mean,
humans already. That's like
I think
they're
humans
already.
are okay compared to half
Are
elf.
they?
Half elf just seems so. Look, it's like it's not a human. It's not an elf. I mean, it's both. That's racist. It's both a human and an elf.
I think half elves, how I think people generically do them, are boring. I think the way like Perry does them, that's the way I usually do them. I like to have the that there is like that in between, like, oh, like I don't really fit sometimes in human culture or elf culture. Having both parents being alive and either around is like an interesting dynamic because necessarily elves don't necessarily stay with human partners because they die a lot faster. Elves usually are more free, so they might cook up and then like, okay, I'm gonna go this way, bye. Or they might take the kid with them and like, oh, you're an elf, but like you're a half elf, like you're just one of our clan. So I think doing it that way, where it's that interesting perspective of which culture are you like leaning towards? Do you try to fit both? Do you try to fit to one, or is like your parents fighting over you, or your parents together happily? That can be an interesting dynamic too. I think that way is more interesting. There's like I'm a half elf orphan, but I'm kind of like a human, really.
Yeah. I mean, I will agree, I think. And I default to half elf, I think, because it's depending on what I'm creating, it might just be part of it is just like the easiest way to make this work for this backstory. Um, my first ever character was a half elf bard. And I went super cliche. Um, human mother, elven father, um, mom eventually died while she was taken to live with her father, and the elves were super crappy to her because she wasn't really
Aw.
an elf. I went deep into that cliche because it's easy, it's there, and I had no idea what I was doing. Lately, I mean, I made Perry a half elf because it made sense for that world to be mostly elves and humans living together. Um, and I tend to try to not do the whole only one parent is alive thing, um, because it's super cliche. And I figured, hey, no, it'll be cute. They're both alive, and Perry's mom is super aware that she's a wood elf and she's gonna live like thousands of years, and her dad is not. So like that
Sad.
dynamic, I get to like build who Perry is, living in a dynamic where her mom truly loves her father, but is also really aware of that lifespan difference
Yeah,
and how that
for you
relationship
too,
works. Yeah.
because she's gonna outlive you probably too. That's gonna like that's a
Well, here let's hope we survive
well,
to level 20.
yeah,
Arch
yeah,
druid.
yeah, yeah,
Arch
yeah, yeah, yeah,
druid.
yeah. True,
Khalil,
true, true,
arch
true, true,
druid. Let's
true,
just
true, true.
cling
Yeah,
into
don't
Perry's
elves
survival.
only live to like 800-ish?
Uh,
Did I remember
yeah,
that
like
wrong?
700, 800.
Yeah.
But I mean,
So she
it
might
depends on
not
how old
outlive
is she.
Perry.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, headcanon assumption is right now that her mom is a druid, like a probably some sort of circle of the shepherd or something. So her mom might make it to archdruid and live thousand
thousands.
years.
Yeah,
And her dad's definitely not.
yeah,
Aw,
So like, but
sad.
having Perry raised in a family where all of her siblings are half elves, but her mom super loves her dad and is acutely aware of how limited their time is together, so that they cherish that relationship. So that I got to build Perry in a world where good relationships are where people love each other and love each other that much. Um, but no, you're right. Half elves are really boring if you don't play them. Like you have to get creative with them.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's
You
it's
do.
cliche. Everybody plays a half elf because oh, half elf, I don't fit anywhere, but I'm really
Ooh,
charming.
Yeah.
I have good
Everybody
decks.
loves me anyway, and you can't put me to sleep.
Yeah.
I don't
Or
need to sleep at all, actually. Yeah.
um I tend to actually lean heavily on playing tieflings, or if I'm gonna play a half elf, I play a variant, either like a half drow, or I went wood elf for parry instead of just taking that basic level of um basic bitch half elf.
Mhm.
Because I've been trying to explore more. I have an Asimar right now, and she's
Yeah,
really fun.
she is fun.
So, oh Tara.
Oh, Tara.
um, but I think though I think it's good and fun to explore other races, honestly,
Yeah.
and I have more fun doing it most of the
Um,
time.
trying to think. I don't think I've actually ever played the same race twice. I've only been playing D&D for like 3 years, 4 years. Some years, my first character was a human necromancer, and I just got weirder from there. Um, yeah. Okay. What was my next question? Tieflings are great, though. Love
I love
tieflings.
tieflings.
Tieflings are so great.
I've got one now and one I have planned to play for another campaign. I'm super excited about her.
I think I've literally never actually played a tiefling.
Play a
Tieflings are
tiefling. They're
amazing.
so
I
fun. You can be
know.
any color.
I don't think I've ever
Oh
played
yeah, it's
tiefling.
like I have a hot pink tiefling. Okay, I have a
I
hot
just
pink
like
tiefling.
no. I'm gonna do
She
something
is.
else.
She
You
is.
want little horns. You want a tail. Khalil, you don't want a
No,
tail.
I
She's
think
got like
tieflings
a
are great.
tail and she's
I think
got like
tieflings are
little
great.
ram's horns.
I'll
She's
have character
adorable.
ideas for a tiefling, like in
Uh-huh.
my head. I'm like, no, I'll just do something else.
Yeah.
I'll save for later.
Other things are more
Plus, you get to be
interesting.
like you get to be kind of creepy and spooky sometimes, like
Yeah.
flashing your fangs and yelling in Infernal.
Yeah.
You've got, what's that called? Hellish Rebukes. If anyone touches you, you can just set them on fire. It's cool shit. Okay, yeah. So actually, speaking of like dex bonuses and stuff for half elves, so how do we all feel about like the race-based ability scores? Do they encourage power gaming? Is my question, because like there's definitely some advantage to having like an elf ranger or like a halfling rogue or something. Because it gives you bonuses to the ability scores that you're going to want within that class.
I think yes.
I also think yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's kind of they're like those are like tiefling warlock, halfling bar, or rogue, half elf bar. Like those are like stereotypes because they work so well.
Oh yeah.
I think it's just kind of it's hard, especially if you roll not average to not good. You kind of
Mm-hmm.
have to. You can't be like crippled the whole time. Like no one wants to play like the handicapped, like or no one wants to play like the like I got off the street and I was like I'm gonna be an adventurer today, but like I'm not good at it at all.
I'm not good at it. I'm
Yeah,
a real
like
level one.
it's like it makes you. It kind of does. If you if you roll well, it's that gives you a bit more freedom to do weirder stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
think using like mid, if you roll mid or use point buy or standard, it kind of does kind of push you into like a race that would help you beneficially.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, if you roll really well, then yeah, okay, play a tiefling cleric that has, the bonuses aren't to wisdom, but if you roll like crap and you want to play, a rogue, then yeah, you're gonna, it's so much easier. And you never want to feel like coming right out of the gate, I'm not gonna survive the first two
Right.
encounters. Um
Not gonna make the level 2.
Or just
I'm
like
not gonna make
you're
level 2, so
useless, because I
or
think that
yeah.
personally that makes me feel like if I'm playing a game I feel absolutely useless, like I can't contribute anything, it kind of makes me feel bad for myself because I'm like I can't help
I
my
agree.
party at all. I'm just a dead weight.
Yeah. Yeah, that I also really agree with. Like, especially if you roll barely average
Right.
and you may have like a single good stat
Mhm.
otherwise and you can't do anything. Oh, I don't have any strength. I'm
Right.
also not very smart.
I can't lift, sneak,
Can't think.
hide, think about things, but I can talk to people kind of. Like
Kind of, but I
mid,
can't
mid,
say
Right.
anything. I can't say
Or
anything coherent.
I'm super fast.
yeah.
Yeah. You're a specialist. You know,
But
you got your
It's
niche.
hard to hit me, but that's about it.
that's about it. Yeah. But I think the nice thing, though, I will say about 5e is that there are so many like variant races, so many like just like races in there, like the Tomb of Foes, like all the books they've come out recently. There's so
Mhm.
many like variants like of elves, like you can have con for your elf, or you can have intelligence, or charisma, like tiefling. There's like a one tiefling that does anything. Like if you want to be a tiefling, you could most likely get away being a tiefling anything because there's like
Mhm.
usually bonuses like wisdom for some people.
Yeah, you
There's
just
like
pick a different
strength.
ancestor.
Yeah. I would like them to do more of that. I would like to have more options for more races because it would then I think that would get rid of that. Well, now I have to be the tiefling bard. Now you're like, oh, I'm gonna be the Furbolg bard.
Yeah. I mean, I think for your physical stats, your con, your strength, your dex, it makes sense for them to be kind of racial. Like, yeah, okay, elves are kind of dexy.
Right. Yeah.
They're lithe
Mhm.
creatures, but it doesn't make sense to say, oh, orcs are just stupid. All
Right.
orcs are stupid.
Yeah.
You know,
It's racist.
yeah. Your soft stats, I feel like shouldn't be racially bound
Right.
because
Right.
Interesting.
you're not smart because you're an elf. You're smart because you're smart. But you might be a Goliath is gonna be strong. A
Right.
Goliath is gonna have con. They're massive people. But that doesn't mean that they have to also be dumb.
Yeah. They don't have to be big dumb brutes. They can be big smart brutes, all the more deadly. Yeah, actually always made me wonder, like, why did tieflings get the charisma bonus when their description is all like everybody's suspicious of you because you look like a devil?
Yeah, see, I always thought that way too.
Asmodeus is sexy. That's what
I mean, that's true. And I mean, I play it Asmodeus Tiefling. And yeah, I mean, Asmodeus be the sexy beast, but still.
Doesn't make sense with like their flavor in the book.
Yeah. I think everyone just loves devil women and men. I think people just love devil.
I mean, look, you go crazy for a tail, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
It's all about those horns, though, you know.
Just grab them.
I'm glad you said it because I was going to.
Fun times, guys. Okay, so question, what's like a race you have not gotten a chance to play that you really, really want to?
Oh. Well, we've already know that I haven't played Tiefling. But I want to play a gift.
Oh, those like extra long. I know what you mean. Yeah.
I think those are very interesting. Like their lores in general is super interesting. But I think that's a very interesting race. And Baldur's Gate 3, I mean, the GIF in that game, just like, oh, okay, yeah, I feel that.
I think I'd like to play. I mean, I tend to play superhumanoids, but I think I would like to either play a half orc, or a halfling. I really want to play a halfling barbarian. You know, I would like to rage.
That'd be fun. Half orcs are really fun too. My second character was a half orc, and she was great. Half orc paladin. Zoe. Yeah, and actually, the one that I have not gotten a chance to play it that I really want to is Warforged, like the D&D robot.
Oh yeah,
they are so cool.
Yeah, those are super cool too.
I want to be like a Warforged rogue. I'll just be like a little all painted black, all painted matte black assassin. Stab.
Initiating kill sequence. Just sneak attack.
Exterminate. Yeah, right? Okay, so let's talk about bad guy races, like sort of like the goon races, like goblins, orcs, kobolds, drow, like full-blood orcs and drow. Like, have you ever played one of these? Would you ever want to?
I think I haven't played one at all. I think no, I wouldn't want to play. Previously, I would say no. I think one of the new books has kind of fixed a few of these races for me, because like Laura said, like why, like, you know, all orcs aren't dumb. Like, why does he have like a negative to intelligence? Like, I don't necessarily want to be a dumb orc, you know, unless like that's my character. I thought like, oh, he doesn't matter if he's dumb or not. But like maybe I want to be an orc wizard. I think the new books have like fixed a few of those races, and it's kind of hard to be like a drow if like most of your game is on the top side
on the surface. Yeah, you'd need like an Underdark game. That'd be interesting. That'd be cool though.
Make a drow that's invented basically the opposite of the Goggles of Night.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Just slathered in sunscreen every day.
That's actually a concept I've been toying with, because I'd love to play like a full drow. But there's that disadvantage during daylight issue. And I mean, like Caleel said, a lot of it is like in the beginning, I didn't want to play these races because I don't want to play the race that everybody's going to assume is evil. Like, it's not fun to have everybody hate you all the time. It's one thing to go to a game and it's okay, well, people are suspicious of you, but they're going to get over it. But if like literally everybody hates the orc, everybody hates the drow, and they're never going to change, and all of your people are evil and you're just like the one good one, it's gross. Like, that's a really gross feeling. And I mean, I have a big problem with, I don't think any race should be evil. Like, you're not born evil just because you're a certain race. And I'm glad to see that a lot of that is being fixed.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see that Wizards has been like really open to, hey, we realize we have screwed up. And what we have done is not cool. And let's fix that.
That was actually one of my next questions. So is it like, problematic that there are these like straight evil races where it says like in the book contextually these ones skew evil. Like, isn't it all cultural, really? Would you like to see as Wizards of the Coast like sort of inches away from having these races be just like instinctually evil? Would you like to have it be more like cultural misunderstandings? Like, what direction do you want them to go with that, ideally?
I think if like, I think saying like, can like, for humans to say, can be any, alignment. Um,
Mhm.
but but they kind of describe with their characteristics of lore, like like because like drow, there's like things that drow do. You're like, okay, I mean, yeah, that'd be evil in my opinion. You could and tell them what the drow, how their religion is based off of what they do as characteristics, and then like like there are also that is not the standing. That's not every drow. How Drizzt is a good drow, and you can be any alignment you want. It's just the lore of some of the drow we have in the
Hey,
Forgotten
slaves.
Realms,
Yeah.
lore,
Are
and
there
his are
drow
some of the good ones.
abolitionists? Hmm.
I mean, I assume
Yeah.
so. There are, the men don't have a big role in the, the society. So I think there's some lore on like how there are men who, escape service, captivity and, do things topside and try to, transfer slaves from the
Hmm.
Underdark to the top. They're not necessarily even good, even themselves either, though. But that's like, you could see a more, anti-hero role or like a
Mm-hmm.
neutral alignment with those type of drow as well. So it's like you could fix it so it's like you still have like that lore. So like if you understood like okay, slavery is bad, those drow are bad. Not all
Hmm.
drow are bad.
Yeah. I'd like to see some expansion on the lore, specifically. Like, instead of like you open it up and you read drow and it's like all drow are evil and they worship
Hmm.
Lolth and they keep slaves and they hate the elves and they're monsters and everybody hates them except for Dritz. Dritz is okay.
Right.
Except for one.
Except for
Yeah.
one. And that's the thing is I think that instead of, I mean, I don't think it necessarily needs to just be, well, culturally they're misunderstood, because that still feeds into the, here's why people are racist against these people, as opposed to an understanding of the people themselves. Like, yes, okay, the drow in the Underdark that worship Loth are pretty
Pretty
bad,
bad, yeah.
but you can't tell me that literally every drow that ever existed, every drow community that ever existed, is evil. The same way
Hmm.
you can't tell me that every orc village is just a tribe of bloodthirsty monsters biting people's heads off. So what I'd like to see is an expansion of the lore, and let's talk about a generalized, these are all the different ways that it can be, as opposed to, I'm not saying I'm not willing to do the work to make up my own lore, but it would be better and it would help DMs if there's more to build on.
Hmm.
More of, okay, well, here's what drow society looks like when it's not wealth related.
Right.
Here's what a whole city of peaceful orcs can do.
And I like what Matt has done with the Montrose
Hmm.
races.
Yeah, me too.
And really kind of flipping that narrative on its head, because I think in the Exandria guide, the humans and Rama are mostly evilish alignments,
Mm-hmm.
I believe, and the Yorhas, they're like either neutral or like chaotic. They're not necessarily all evil over in Yorhas.
Yeah.
So I like what he's done. Like it's kind of this. Well, I mean, you can decide who is evil based on what you think personally,
Yeah.
but just because this one person does one thing doesn't necessarily mean this one person is doing something because they are evil. They do something because this is what they believe in.
Yeah.
And I think that's alignment in general. I think that's what alignment should be, because we are someone else's villains and you are someone else's heroes, no matter what you
Mm-hmm.
do in every story. If you might save people, be the hero, but to someone else, you are the villain who let their store burn down to save some child falling out of a tree. It depends on what
Yeah.
you see in the world of your alignment.
Yeah, I feel all that. I think, as you guys were saying, sort of the issue is not that there are evil drow or there are evil orcs, it's that the whole race is treated as a monolith. It's like all of them are this way, which doesn't make any sense. Um, okay, so Question, what about more, like, even more textually evil races like Illithid or Blue Dragons or like other intelligent but very, very, very malevolent races? Either as like potential for player characters or just in general thoughts.
I'm thinking about how terrifying it would be to be in a party with an illithid now.
Yeah.
Right? It's so
Just
weird.
like there's a lot of bias there where I'm just like, do I want to be in a party
Leave my
with the
brain
mind
while I'm
flayer?
sleeping.
I'll take
Yeah.
first watch.
I'm like, oh well, I'm now playing something that doesn't sleep. You know, I'll play Warforged. I just have to like sit there, and
Just stare at him.
I'm always aware.
Oh yeah, you're
of my-
good. You don't have a brain. He's like, oh yeah, I don't want to talk. We're
yeah,
good.
so
We're
yeah,
okay.
Just
I'll play
circuits
something
in
that
there.
doesn't sleep and
Amazing.
doesn't need to worry about my brain being eaten.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know. It depends. It's kind of hard because, like, just like you're saying, like, how like every all um races are the same. It's kind of strange because for illithids, they kind of are all the same because they have a group
They
think.
have a
They have a
hive
hive
mind.
Yeah,
mind.
they have a hive mind.
So it's
So
kind
I
of
mean,
it's kind of like it's like how do you explain that lore wise because they are all connected by one mother brain. So it's like in this
I mean,
case,
I would.
it's one person. I kind of right.
I mean, I would like to see the idea of a non-malevolent hive. That would be really interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
I
a
don't know
peaceful
how.
hive.
I don't know how it would work.
Well,
Well, they don't have to
But
eat
like,
people brains, do they?
maybe
They could have cattle.
good point. I don't know. Not quite sure. I know that they have like the potential to be nice. They're not necessarily they're I believe the Elthids are like they were slaves themselves.
yes,
They're running from the gifts. The gift
yeah.
Yankee or gift Sarai. One of the
I think
gifts.
it's the Get Thry.
So they have the potential to be like, oh, we just want to chill. Like we're just peaceful. We just don't want to avoid being, killed to death. But I think I think the whole brain thing kind of like sets people apart.
Yeah, it's like a big hurdle to get over
Yeah.
the whole brain thing.
Like
I mean,
just
as
don't eat
far
my
as
brain, bro.
I mean, as
Bro.
far as things like malevolent blue dragons, I feel like that gets you into the area of Tiamat and Bahamut, and what does that all mean? As
Right.
far as your colors of dragons,
Mhm.
because I feel like it's hypocritical to say, well, I don't think all player races should be like all races
Right.
should be made into, one race is evil and one race is good, but that I think a certain type of creature is. Because I mean, you can have a blue dragonborn.
Yeah, because I mean, blue dragon, the colored chromatic dragonborn can be good or evil.
So I mean,
I think anything with like an intelligence, especially of dragons levels, I think they can be
They're pretty
whatever
smart.
yeah, I agree. I
whatever they
feel
could
like
desire to be.
I mean, I think you can play that as, if you're chromatic, you have that tinge of Tiamat in the back of your mind trying to
Mhm.
turn you.
But you don't gotta.
But you don't have to, because I agree with Caleel. I think if you have a level of intelligence, then I feel like you can't really say, well,
I'm evil always.
you're born evil.
Yeah.
I mean, you're intelligent enough to make your own choices.
Good discussions. Okay, so let's pivot away from that and talk. Oh, we only have like 2 minutes. Okay, let's talk very quickly about like very obscure races, like Lions, Tritons, Enlightened Animals, Warforged. Do you think part of the or what's the big one? We just Fearbolg
Fearbolgs.
bugbears. Yeah. Do you think part of the appeal of playing a character like that is having everyone do like a double take when they see you on the street? That's my question. That was it. I had a follow up in their mind.
To be honest, I think yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess in some way, yeah.
I mean, because that's some of the fun if you play a tiefling in a place where tieflings are rare.
Mhm.
That double take, like
yeah,
when you drop your hood and there are horns.
Like, oh.
Or you play a drow, and when you drop your hood, oh my god, it's a drow. That sort of head turn because it opens up the door for like some character exploration. Like, how do you react to being, considered weird, to getting sudden attention where you were normal before?
Yeah. I think, because I feel like in our game, Baltimore is probably, outside of Orion, is probably the weirdest race.
Yeah, I think he is.
He's got the least, because Tiefling seems to be more commonish thing. He's got the most, like, oh.
I mean, you did have that whole thing where Dobby assumed that guy was racist
right,
because you were blue.
Yeah. Because he's blue.
It's because he's blue. It's because he's blue. Got a problem with blue people.
Sometimes. Okay, one last question. What do you think about the fact that we, the D&D players of the world, have essentially pretty universally decided that orcs are green and tieflings come in every single color in the rainbow, despite the fact that the book very much says the opposite?
I mean, it is a big question: is why are orcs considered just green? Like, why do they have to be green?
Well, in the book they're gray, but I think that's stupid. I don't know why. I just have very strong feelings about it.
I mean, I feel like, I'm sorry, if my ancestor's a devil, I can be whatever color I want to be. Which is why my cleric is pink. Because why not?
I'm for it. I think more colors everywhere. That's my thought.
I want to see a blue orc.
Yep.
I want to see a blue orc or purple orc. Let's see a purple orc. I want to see a purple orc. Make it happen.
They got little lavender tusks.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, and that takes us to the end of our show. Yay. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you to Laura and Caleel for being here and talking with me about a bunch of nerdy shit. Stick around for the links that will be up on our ending card, and have a great night. Tune in on Friday for the next episode of Roll for Damage, and tune in on Tuesday for the next episode of What's the Damage. Good night, guys.
Night.
Bye.